Booyah!
So I was playing Overwatch recently, no surprise there, and I met two salty kiddos talking about fucking each other's mothers, being generally childish, and just being toxic. Again, no surprise there. This is the internet or gaming, and people are kind of dickheads in video games and on the internet. It's not really a surprise to me. But what really actually surprised me about this was the reaction. The reaction was full of people who seemed completely gobsmacked at the fact that Overwatch is full of really shitty toxic players. And I wanted to make a video kind of discussing this as to why every big game seems to have such toxic players, and I think it'll be really interesting to talk about. However, the problem is I've already made a video about this where my voice was destroyed, I was shit at making videos, I was uncharismatic behind a mic, was really shit at editing, and I'm slightly more mature now. By slightly more mature I mean back then I was a baby and now I'm a slightly larger baby. But in saying that, I feel like I can look at this with slightly more mature eyes and give a better idea as to why there's so many toxic games at the moment, as people call them. Getting into it, what do you think games like Call of Duty, Counter-Strike Go, Battlefield, League of Legends, Dota, Smite, FIFA, Team Fortress 2, World of Warcraft, and now apparently Overwatch, oh my god, that's a lot of games, have in common? Well, firstly, they have huge communities. They have lots and lots of people all culminated in one area playing together. Now, it doesn't seem like a big thing that would cause toxic behavior, but the thing is, for every 3 good people it attracts one bad person, one person who generally would be a dick, would gotten bad behaviors over the years and would complain at people in comments and start arguments and be generally angry. The problem with this is all the good people who come in, they rarely comment on anything. Usually they're the silent majority, and the loud minority are the ones who are the toxic ones. Generally in a game that is so as open as the games I already mentioned, there's definitely an opening for that many players to come in who are toxic to just talk away and start arguments with people who generally wouldn't start arguments usually because they're not really bad people. There's always instigators in every game, and they're just, the bigger the game, the more instigators that enter, and the more instigators that enter, the more toxic the game. I think instigators are really what cause toxic arguments, because there's always one person who says something to piss off everybody else, and it usually causes what people call toxic behavior. The second thing that really causes salty behavior, in my opinion, is the anonymity of playing a video game, which is generally Steam, Origin, Battle.net. In all of them, you can have a username. None of your details are given away when you're online. So in saying that, you can play with somebody and they will never know anything about you. That leads to a lack of consequence, because you think that you're basically immortal because they don't know anything about you. You can do whatever the hell you want. And if you've played BioShock, you know that a lack of consequence leads to a genuine shitstorm, like the worst thing ever. People need rules. They need social laws. The reason social laws are so effective, I don't mean laws in general, I mean social laws that are constructed by a society. The reason they exist is because they keep people in check and they keep them from being genuine assholes all the time. People need consequences, otherwise literally everyone would be a dickhead all of the time. Granted, there are some exceptions. There are people who are just morally good, but there are people who are simply good because society, the law, and good morals tell them otherwise, as i.e. being brought up well. When all of that's taken away and you're giving no consequences for your actions, it's very common for people to just jump on the bandwagon and be absolute arseholes, because it does feel good to be an arsehole. It doesn't feel bad at all. So that amount of power, which to some doesn't seem like much, but in actual fact it's a lot of power of not being known by anybody, leads to a lot of misuse of that power in order to make people genuine dickheads. It's just the way it is. And it's segueing onto that, the other reason that has happened so often is due to a lack of direct consequence. As I already said, the lack of direct consequence is kind of an umbrella term because anonymity comes under it. What also comes under it is the fact that you're behind a computer screen. You cannot directly see the consequences of your actions, so you cannot directly react to the consequences of your actions. Reporting, it only stops you from playing in the game. It doesn't actually change your mindset and make you think that you're a bad person. People generally think they're better than they are. In actual fact, there's been studies that have shown that people usually think they're better than they are in terms of personality. So you probably think you're in the right from your point of view, and you've nobody to directly face you and tell you you're wrong. You only have the internet, and the internet is just a bunch of text on a wall. People, like, what are you supposed to take from that? A legal reporting system is the best thing I've seen so far for direct consequence to make people a bit less of a dick. And it kind of works. I mean, it really shuts people down from playing and being dickheads, not because they feel like they should, but more so because if they don't, they'll be kicked from the game and they won't be able to play for a while. And let's be honest, League players are basically crack junkies who found League instead of crack and are just hooked onto it. Although it doesn't permanently change the problem, it does certainly ease a lot of the toxicity in that community. It does make it a little bit better. So in saying that, I think that salty communities are pretty omnipresent. They're always going to be there, and it's going to be fairly difficult to get rid of them. There can be some temporary steps to slow it down, but the nature of the internet makes it so that you can do whatever you want, and so long as it's within reason, you'll probably get away with it. So by those laws, it's very difficult for a person to actually see the course of their actions and try to be less of a toxic player. So in my head, there is really no long-term solution to toxic players. So my advice to anybody who meets a toxic player is just tell them to shut the fuck up, or just ignore them. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Or you could just mute them. Muting is a thing you can do now. That usually works. But anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. I feel like I had to make this purely because, I don't know, people's complaints about toxic communities in all games, people seem so surprised by the existence of toxic games. It's always going to be there. You just have to accept it if you want to play video games. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. I'll see you again next time, and have a nice day.